Hey, y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, we have reached my favorite race, usually in the Breeders' Cup, and that is the mile. And this is no exception, a star-studded field, and it should be a really great race. So let's start talking about it. So this is the Breeders' Cup Mile, and this is always a great race. It's a mile, and because of the distance, this is pretty much a dogfight from the start to the finish. And I think that's what makes it such a great race. You don't really have a lot of time to settle and rest. You've got to be working towards winning the race throughout. So I'm really, looks like a really nice field too. So let's talk about it. Number one is Cheryl's Spite. Chuck Fipke owns this one, and Roger Atfield, the Hall of Famer, does very well bringing his Canadian horses down to the States. And this one did very well last year in the mile, finishing second, kind of unexpectedly at 55-1. But this is a really honest horse. Brings it seemingly every time, with the exception of Dubai, the World Cup, and probably a little too, not the World Cup. I'm sorry, I meant the Tokyo and the stakes there. It might have been just shipping over, who knows? But it's highly unlikely. This horse usually is right in the thick of things, and I think this one could surprise. I really like the Woodbine Mile. I thought ran a really nice race, getting second behind Master of the Seas. And I see no reason fresh why this one won't fire, and probably will outrun his odds again. And so I think this one is a logical use. Gina Romantica just ran her best race ever in the First Lady, beating In Italian. Kind of thought that was going to happen. Was happy to get her at 11-1. I hope you did too. But that was a pretty big step up from what she had been running. And maybe the light bulb did go off at 4. That's entirely possible. It's also possible that she just ran her best race, and maybe that's going to take a little bit out of her going into this one. And I tend to believe that is the case. So Gina Romantica, I mean, she'll be just off the pace, and will have an opportunity to get a jump. And if she does continue in that good form, then she could be in the thick of things. I don't think she's a win candidate, but you are getting 12-1, and I wouldn't talk you out of using. You got Tyler Gaffleone, Chad Brown. It's entirely possible that she could be competitive, but I'm guessing not. Casa Creed, you got to love Casa Creed. He's kind of become the 4-star Dave of our generation. Bill Mott on Breeders' Cup Day, never want to overlook. This one's just a great horse. You know, you got to love him. Brings it every time. And, the mile is a really good distance for this one. And has run back-to-back really solid efforts, defeating Annapolis both times. The last one in particular, I was really impressed with, because he had to be a little closer to the pace than usual. And tactically, I thought Annapolis would have the edge, but not so. Casa Creed, it just showed what she's all about. I'm not sure that she can jack it up to win this race. Probably not. But I think she's a hard knocker, or he's a hard knocker. Too many filly races, sorry. So I think that using her underneath, yeah, definitely you can. 8-1 is pretty square for her and him. And hopefully that they won't bet her down too much because of her popularity. And so if you get a decent price, then you can use her underneath. Him underneath. Other places they drink when they misgender, and I'm doing it in reverse. So God knows I've done a lot of videos today, so I'm sorry. But the next is Win Carnelian. Ran in the Manichi Okan with Songline last time, and I liked that race. I thought he was on the lead for the majority of the race. It was a big field, and just kind of faded a little bit in the stretch when the cavalry came rushing. But that was at 1 1/8. Cutting him back to a mile is probably a pretty good thing. Now, the form hasn't been that great this year. Hasn't won since a grade 3 at in Tokyo, but This one does have some back class, and on the front end, you know, anything is possible. But I think there's some other heavy hitters in here that would make win Carnelian taking this race highly unlikely. So I'm probably going to pass. Lucky Score just isn't good enough. That's it. Mark Cassie's bringing this one in. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. Did get a third in the Woodbine Mile, but though it has not run a triple-digit speed figure, and that's what you're going to need to win this. At 5 years old, if he does, probably still won't win it. That's how good the top horses are in this field. So you're getting 30 to 1, maybe underneath for the price, but that's it. That's the extent of my interest anyway. Mauge is the darling of the moment, the filly. She is proved in the last race that she's pretty darn good. Mile and an eighth, she had never gone around 2 turns before, and didn't really seem to bother her very much. And she did what a good horse does, got on the lead and just didn't let anybody come get her. It was a really solid effort. I'll expect more of the same in this race. Don't know necessarily if she's going to get on the lead, but could. And she could win either there or coming from off the pace. I don't see any reason why not. She's definitely one to consider. And second off the layoff, I think she's poised to run a big one. Master of Foxhounds is just a California turf horse, been around seemingly forever, and just really isn't good enough in this field. That's the extent of it. In California, we know the turf horses are a little subpar compared to the rest of the country and the world. Sorry about that, California. But, you know, this one will try hard for sure. You can see he always brings his game for the most part. But I think he hits a wall in this race. And at 30 to 1, I really don't even want any part of him. I just don't think he'll factor in this race. Dour. Bob Baffert on the turf is an anomaly, of course. This one, it really is, I just think, a cut below, much like Master of Foxhounds. I mean, is running okay right now, but in the Del Mar Mile, as when we posted the race replay and we analyzed it, I thought Exalted had a much tougher trip and was a much better horse in that race. Dour had the rail, had everything his way and got up. It was kind of a dream trip. Even if he gets that here, he's not as good as the best horses in this race. So Dour is a pass for me. Same can be said for Astronomer. I don't think this one is nearly good enough to be in this race. It's just filling out the field, in my opinion. You do get Ryan Moore, which is interesting, riding this one, and he did before at Del Mar. And he did win an ungraded stakes race, but I don't see, this one just isn't good enough. And trying to win this on the front end, no way, not going to happen, especially with Mauge there. So I'll pass. Excuse me. Songline was pointing for this race last year, and it just never came about. But this one has got a ton of talent. And the Manichi Okan last time, you saw that huge acceleration, which they pushed the button on her. She was just awesome. Came up a little bit short. However, you could use that as a prep for this race. She is a monster and definitely one to be taken seriously in this race and will be on all my tickets for sure. Kina is kind of interesting, sort of a new to the foray, if you will, on the Grade 1 stage anyway. You see she does have had a couple of Grade 2 and ungraded stakes wins, and wasn't too hot in the pre-Rothschild. Her effort in the Moulin Longchamp, the two prior to the Prix de la Forêt, but she did come up with a win, and it was kind of unexpectedly beat Kinross, who's a pretty hard knocker. You know, it was on soft turf, and the majority of her races have been on soft. You do see some wins on good, so I'll just assume that she'll be okay on the firmer turf. Kind of a wild card. I mean, I don't really expect that she I mean, she ran a monster race last time, and to do that again seems a little remote to me. Wertheimer and Freya, really nice connections, and she is a 3-year-old, so there's always room for improvement, and maybe the light bulb went off. But when you run that big a race, to follow it up with a step up in class, I don't know. 6-1 seems a little short for me. I'd need a better price than that to really get behind Kina. Exalted is one of the California horses. Peter Yurton having a really good Santa Anita meet. He often does. And you got Juan Hernandez aboard, the leading rider. This one got a Grade 1 win earlier in the year in the Shoemaker Mile. And since being taken over by Peter Yurton and going to the turf, has been a much better horse. However, you're winning graded stakes in California. This is a big step up in class. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Exalted runs a really big race. I thought she should have won the Del Mar Mile last time. Was a little unlucky traffic-wise. But you can see she hasn't run a triple-digit speed figure, and you're going to need that to win this race. At 6 years old, kind of a tall order. Is a hard-knocking horse that I really like, but it's going to be awful hard for her to factor in this race. I think maybe underneath 20-1 or better, I'd perhaps consider. I don't want to knock out Peter Yurton too terribly readily, but is filling out the bottom of the Try of the Super, and I think that's the extent of the participation. More Than Looks is a 3-year-old who kind of came on the scene and in the Manila, which was not a surprise for some of us, but beat what was an okay field. I mean, Nagarak and Talk of the Nation were both horses that were on a lot of people's lips that thought were going to be world beaters on turf, and they really never happened for either of them. So I don't know how much of we can take out of that race. Hall of Fame stakes against Carl Spackler, who I'd love to see in this race, was a decent enough effort. But and the Jefferson Cup is an ungraded stakes, and that this is just a really big step up in class. The one advantage is that he is a late runner to a degree, but also you have to think about Master of the Seas is one as well. Joel Rosario is a jockey, as we know, who loves to take him from the clouds and bring him in. So, you know, underneath is certainly possible. Cherie DeVoe is having a really nice year, and I'll expect this one to fire a good race. I just don't think it's going to be good enough. So if you like More Than Looks, I consider underneath 15-1 be a pretty good value. Master of the Seas is one that is a handful to train from what I understand. And, you know, Charlie Appleby, William Buick, Godolphin, there they are right there. Those are the connections. And we know what their record is at the Breeders' Cup. The last race, the Turf Mile, was she ran a hell of a race and just got beat by Up to the Mark, who was just awesome in that race. Kind of stole all Master of the Seas thunder. Prior to that, won the Woodbine Mile. This is a horse to definitely take seriously. But I don't know. Just something, I can't necessarily put my finger on it. But the fact that they say he's hard to train and can be difficult at times, now you're putting him on a world stage with a big crowd, a lot of distractions. I don't know. I'm just not as excited about Master of the Seas as I am some other horses. I think you have to use and you have to consider, but I just got a feeling that it's not going to be his day. So here's what we have for the mile. Maj, I think you have to use on the front end. I'm not so terribly sure that she is going to go to the lead. May rate just behind Win Carnelian. But in either case, Maj is a serious horse. I think is on the upswing and looks pretty good in this field. Cheryl Spite, I really like the grittiness of this horse. The Woodbine Mile last time, I think she ran a really nice race. And as we know, last year she surprised in the mile. I think she'll be coming into this race in top form, and at 30 to 1, you're getting excellent value. Casa Creed, the old venerable horse, is really classy, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this one running in the money. I don't think it's a serious win candidate, but I think is one with a lot of class and isn't bothered by big events. I think that you can expect a solid race out of Casa Creed, and likely will be under 8 to 1, pretty good price. Songline, I really like a lot in this race. I just love that explosive kick I saw in the Manichi Okan. She's serious business in this race, and I think the fact that they have their heart set on winning this as they did last year, maybe they get a little sweet redemption. And this is one of Japan's best hopes to win a Breeders' Cup race this year. I really like Songline. Master of the Seas, certainly have to consider in this race. There's some things about Master of the Seas that have come to the fore that, as I mentioned, being hard to train, being kind of a handful. You just wonder on a big stage if that's going to backfire. The other thing is that he had to run a monster race against Up to the Mark. That was a big, big effort. And I just wonder if coming off of that into a grade 1 race where the stakes are a lot higher and so is the class, that maybe it takes something out of Master of the Seas. The other thing is with Songline there also closing, it will be, who gets the trip. But of the two, I think Songline is coming into this race in better form. I'll just throw in a couple horses that I would maybe use as fillers that with it's price dependent, of course. But, maybe Exalted or Gina Romantica, one of those two I could see throwing in the bottom of the try of the Super. They're not win candidates, but they're honest horses, and they might give an effort. And with the value, it's worth a shot. But to me, this race, Songline's to lose. So that's the mile, and it looks to be a real humdinger. That is going to be one fun race to watch. Whole lot of different ways to go with it, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. Hope our analysis helps you and moves you closer to making your own conclusions as far as the Breeders' Cup goes. We will continue with our postings all the way through to the sprint, the final race on Saturday. So stay on the lookout for further postings. And, of course, if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And we do appreciate the support. I'll be talking to you soon. So until then, hang in there and be well.